Hello, everybody. In this episode, we are continuing our series we talked about in the previous episodes about our podcast about the relationship between algebra and how the Sharia or Islam um, was a catalyst for Muslim uh, thinkers and scientists um, encourage them, or it was a catalyst for them to innovate and invent sciences, as we see in the case of Al-Khwarizmi. Welcome back, Dr. Elnasser. Um, what will we? What shall we discuss now?
So we will be welcome again. We will be wrapping up the discussion of the two places in Quran which we took where explicit mention of mathematics and mathematical and natural phenomena and mathematically enabled models were mentioned, one of Surah Al-Kahf, and the second is this inheritance example. Now we remember that we're trying to do a materialistic model for the creation of Quran, where we said probably one probable or possible explanation that Muhammad والسلام, was a literate author. He was not illiterate, but he was literate. Now, what was the problem? Or until now, we saw that we have a problem with even a literate author to have been writing those two places in the Quran. Why? Because he needs to have been very brilliant in math and physics as well, knowing things. Here, I see here he needs to for sure, somebody who wrote this needs to have empirical knowledge. Yeah. For example, about the sun and the rotation of the earth around the sun and all this type of thing. He needs to have this. He needs also to have prepared for this scientific material for a long time, long preparation for the scientific material. Now, of course, you can say before he was a prophet, it took him 40 years to become, when he was 40 years, he became a prophet. The angel Gabriel came and he started the revelation. But the problem is not only in the duration. We need also to know where, because it cannot be in the Arabian desert environment. Unless you do experiments, you have to have material for the experiment. You have to have a certain environment. Remember, you need to study something like the rotation of Earth around the sun and this type of things. And then
Things
when
were not available during this.
So when it cannot be after he became prophet, because he was busy. Of course, he must be before. It must be before. And then how? We saw that to do all this, you need to conduct experiments on natural phenomena. And even in the case of inheritance, we saw that if you say that inheritance case is an experiment, we saw that Muslims took a long time until they invented algebra, 100 years after so many cases were there, so that they can form a science. So if he had done this for them before in the Quran, where are the experiments? Where are the experiments? So he did not only copy the things, like we say, for example, the 309, if he had copied from the Romans, it would have been 310 years, not 309. So he must have formed his own theories in all subjects, and this assumes scientific training. So for sure, so we have here objective scientific evidence leading to empirical knowledge that he must have had. So the author of the Quran must have had scientific training. The author of the Quran must have conducted experiments. The author of the Quran must have been brilliant in math and physics. Maybe you see where I'm going. And the Quran is piecewise event-oriented revelation. And this contradicts the long preparation. Actually, in Quran, there are a lot of event-driven verses, like there is something happening and Quran comes and explains it. So this contradicts the long preparation. We just said he needs for the scientific part to the long preparation, but this contradicts the event-driven idea. All verses related to scientific subjects constitute less than 2%. After you do all this, you write just in a part of a sentence this 309. So what is this? I mean, and also the mawarith, the inheritance case, only 4 verses out of Quran. While you need actually to understand them, to model them rightly, the people wrote books and books, and he just wrote 4 verses. Then, also a very important aspect, his direct illiterate audience was unable to comprehend anything. Actually, to comprehend, even Ibn Abbas didn't get the idea of the first approximate model, the Omar model. He didn't get it. He didn't get the idea why we have to balance. Yeah. So his direct illiterate audience was unable to comprehend such issues. Comprehension starting from the golden age of science, and not even then. I'm saying here not even then because a lot of aspects of Quran, not even in the golden age, they realized. It came after the golden age. Now, look at this picture, what we have now. So we have now a picture of Muhammad, والسلام, if he is the literate author of Quran. This is someone who spent his entire youth and big portion of his adult life studying. He must have been studying in secret, because otherwise they would have known the people. Other languages, not only Arabic, as well as for his people unknown sciences, while also silently conducting experiments, all this in an until today unrevealed place, overhauling single-handed with new unrefuted theories what was known to be true or even divined by all neighboring civilizations. Then, when he decides to go public about his effort, he writes a religious, not a scientific or philosophical book.
Exactly.
In which his new theories constitute less than 2% of the entire volume, and in which he challenges all mankind. Yeah, give me one philosopher who challenges all mankind. Challenges, or one scientist, challenges all mankind to bring something similar. His only goal of all this being to try to convince illiterate people who did not even care about science and knowledge in his time. And when he does that, after he does all this, he attributes this amazing book to the most abstract deity possible, whose work, including Quran, is supposed to be understood only in approximation. The question, such a guy, how likely is all that? How likely is that you believe such a guy can really exist? Or now we have like this shown that a model where Muhammad ﷺ was the literate author of Quran is not possible. It's not rational. Of course, this is one model. We could have also discussed the committee.
The scholars in the comparative religious texts like Judaism or in the biblical scholars, they took your argue. They say, how did he know about these Jewish groups or these Christian groups?
Yeah, but what we saw today, it is not only related to this, but we saw also.
I mean, there are other models.
I mean, the new thing in my lecture here, maybe for your audience, the following: for the first time, I am highlighting also the descriptions of natural formulas, natural phenomena, to be part of this incapability. Yeah. I am saying that whatever Quran, I'm not only saying what these people in Islamic studies already said, that how could he know all this information from Christianity, and because
And
I know this has been the debate now for 50
started with
years.
Abraham Geiger. Yeah, Abraham Geiger.
Yeah, but I'm now saying they not only what he took from what he's allegedly took from or knew from
the people of
Christianity,
scripture, Ahl
but
al-Kitab.
also what he wrote about natural phenomena, what he's supposed to be writing about the natural phenomena, about mathematical phenomena, about physics, about scientific. The scientific assertions of Quran are a lot, and they cannot be ignored. When you read something like 309, and you know that the Romans, as per Romans, it should have been 310. Then you ask yourself, from where did he get it? When you read something like the inheritance, and you ask yourself, how can a guy come and put all these complicated inheritance formulas, which will only be correctly solved after hundreds of years of his time? This is the incapability. This is exactly the incapability. We are going now to summarize these epistemological results of all what you have seen until now. We can very bluntly and clearly say Quran is a phenomenon, not a mere text. So the main axiom of Islamic sciences and of all Muslims, if you ask any Muslim, why do you believe in Islam? The answer should be very clearly that Quran is a phenomenon, not a mere text. It hasn't been written neither by Muhammad والسلام, nor by a committee, neither
the
in
literary
Mecca,
text can be
nor
subject to critical.
nor it hasn't been written by anyone, nor in Mecca, nor in the Golden Age, nor it hasn't been written by anyone. It's a phenomenon. It's a phenomenon, and we can take this as our hypothesis, empirical. We have now
objective scientific evidence.
From all what we saw until now, we can say very comfortably that we have objective scientific evidence leading to empirical belief, not knowledge. We have a scientific evidence. Our belief that Quran is a phenomenon is based on science. It's not based on superstition. It's not based on tradition. It's based on science. Why? Because whatever we did until now was to discuss scientific methodologies and using also scientific methodologies to differentiate between scientific and unscientific ones. We have facts speaking in the favor of this hypothesis, and still we cannot be 100% sure from the logical point of view, but it is not necessary to be sure. We have sufficient empirical evidence to say that we are comfortable in believing that Quran is a phenomenon, not a mere text. We believe that whatever material model you try to do with the Quran will be inconsistent. And actually, the people who studied Islamic studies in the last 100 years didn't come up with one single consistent view of what happened. There is no single consistent view of what happened. If I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, please tell me. But some people say it has been written way before Mecca. Some people say, I mean, in I don't know, in Jordania.
Conflictive opinions, yeah.
And everything they say is inconsistent. The people who said it is in the Golden Age is inconsistent of whatever the findings we discussed already. The people who say that it was a committee who did the Quran, even if it is a committee, how can this committee know that the difference is really 9 years and not 10 years? They should have done experiments. Where is the evidence that they have done experiments? You need to have a golden age. You need really to have a golden age to make something like Quran. And this is the golden age was there in the Abbasid time, but Quran can never have been written in Abbasid time for all the obvious reasons we discussed. The only solution would be it was before Sayyidina Muhammad والسلام, the golden age, but this conflicts with many historical facts we have, not only about Islam, but about all the surrounding cultures which existed. Actually, in the time when Sayyidina Muhammad was born, it was one of the darkest eras ever in civilization. In the year 536, a super volcano destroyed Asia. I think it was Krakatau or something like this. And there was for about 60 years after that disaster and in this area. So it could have, there was no golden age for anyone at that time. So to say that there is a golden age before Islam, and also even if there was a golden age before Islam, which is not the case, there is no proof for it. How can you explain that after that some of the verses of the Quran are in purely Arabic, doing some new theories which were not in the other cultures? If you say, for example, from the Greeks, when he speaks about the embryo in the belly of his mother, when he speaks about this, what the Quran explains the stages of development of the embryo, not like anyone else.
Not like Galen.
It has not like Galen. It has his own theory. So, so there must have been experiments. Where are the experiments? When you say golden age before Islam, now golden age after Islam, the golden age in the Abbasid era, you have a lot of evidence. You have books, you have people, you have other people, Indians talking about it. You have a lot of because you cannot hide an age, and you can hide maybe an artifact, you can hide a specimen, you can hide an archaeological thing, but you cannot hide an age. You cannot hide an age. If there is no evidence that there is an age, then there is no age. Otherwise, you are hilarious. Otherwise, this is pseudoscience. I cannot say there is a whole age missing, and still say.
Yeah, we can say.
Everyone knows that the Arabs had their golden age after Islam, not before.
This claims
come with this stupid idea, this stupid idea, just for the one purpose, the genocidal purpose of Islamic culture. If you come with this stupid idea, there is a whole age missing. It's like saying that there is a whole continent missing. So it's very pseudoscientific to when I hear people trying to dig so that they find an age. Okay, in this age, what did he do? Did he do mathematics, or did he do physics, or did he do biology, or did he study Christianity? What did he do? And if he is one, he cannot be one. If it is a committee, then evidently there is this evidence that many people, there is no evidence. So it is the classical pseudoscientific case. It is like saying that there are no aliens. You cannot say that there are no aliens.
These claims
you cannot falsify. You cannot falsify this claim.
These claims are shots in the dark. They call it.
Yeah, because okay, you cannot hide an age. You can hide maybe a guy. You can bury someone. But you cannot hide an age. What you require to write the Quran, if it is material, is a whole age of not only one people knowing all this. They didn't know this. I have here discussed only 2, but there are 51 places in Quran in all types of sciences and mathematics and so on, which cannot be explained. Very simply, they cannot be explained. So, is this axiom now? Forget all this. Let me say I believe in it. Yeah, is this so? I believe that Quran is a phenomenon, not a mere text. Is this axiom scientifically acceptable?
This is an important point.
Yeah, this is a very important point. First of all, it is true. This scientific, this axiom is true relative to a set of ontological or logical axioms, not in any absolute sense. Means it is relative to what is known from the history of the Middle East region, from the facts which we put. So it's not true in the absolute, it's true in relative. If we find out that all the history is wrong, then it will be, if we find out everybody lied to us and every single thing written in history was wrong, and maybe this explains to you why these genocidal maniacs who try to erase Islamic civilization, go and try to make you doubt your own history. This reminds me again of what Zionists are doing now in Palestine. When you ask them, they will say there is no Palestine, very simply. So they, just by claiming that there is no Palestine, they think that they erased Palestine. So again, whatever we know today about not only the history of the Middle East, but also of the history of the world, relative to this, it is true. This axiom is true.
Or rather, the history of science.
There haven't been before Islam any golden age for the Arabs. There was no golden age for the Arabs. It's true relative to the set of things we know in history. Now they want to change history. Okay, let them do whatever they, because they are already genocidal. We cannot take them seriously. From the beginning, they said everything Muslims wrote about themselves is wrong.
It's subjective.
Okay, yeah, you don't exist also for me. Now, don't be astonished when I tell you you don't exist also. You don't exist. Whatever you write about Islam, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But I'm saying here, it doesn't matter because it scientifically doesn't matter. You can't go and claim anything and expect me to say that this is a scientific theory just because you have a prof title. I don't know how they give the prof titles, actually. And just because you are a Western. Yeah. Now, secondly, it is not contradicting any objective scientific evidence of any sort. If I say Quran is a phenomenon, there are no confirmed mistakes of Quranic narrative of natural phenomena or agreed upon events. So there is, for example, in the Quran, no agreed upon event where everybody agrees that this event happens, for example, that there were pharaohs, for example, and Quran says there are no pharaohs. Yeah, there is nothing like this. There is nothing like a confirmed mistake of narratives of natural phenomena. We saw two now. Actually, they are not natural. Sorry, we saw one, the phenomena of the circulation of the Earth around the sun. We saw our problem was because it was right, because not because it was wrong. Because it was right, it was for us interesting to see how can this be in the Quran. So actually, there are no confirmed mistakes. The Quran is not contradicting any objective scientific evidence of any sort. But of course, hypotheses on things which are non-scientific, it contradicts them. Like, for example, if somebody, we discuss it, if somebody says Quran speaks about angels, science doesn't recognize angels, then Quran is wrong. Actually, there is no objective scientific evidence that there are no angels. There are no angels. This is a hypothesis you have in your mind, but there is no science behind it. Actually, the limits of science,
principle, because it's metaphysics.
No. The limits of science. Science has a scope. Science is not God. Science is not everything.
It's not absolute.
Whatever science is not saying is this doesn't mean doesn't exist. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is also so. I'm trying to say, objective scientific evidence. Quran doesn't contradict, but Quran contradicts a lot of scientism myth, a lot of ideas coming from scientism. It does contradict. For example, Quran contradicts the idea that there are no angels. No, there are angels. It contradicts the idea that there is no hereafter. Allah will create the world again. He said it many times. Now, if you are a scientist, so-called scientist, and you tell me I'm an atheist and everything which I don't see, I don't believe, okay, this is your problem, but don't tell me that this is scientific.
Yeah, because
we saw very clearly that many things are undecidable. Many things are not in the scope of science. Many important things, not only important things in mathematics and logics, but also in nature.
Yeah, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Exactly. So also the Quran is a phenomenon, not a mere text, is an axiom which does not prove, but it explains. It does not prove its core is not proof. It's a belief. It doesn't prove, but it explains a lot of things. It explains why Quran exists. Because now, if it is a phenomenon by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir, can do everything. So,
Omnipotent, yeah.
But for example, it doesn't explain everything. It has a scope. For example, its scope does not extend to Arabic language rules. We don't say that Arabic language rules are divine. We say Quran is divine, but we don't say that Arabic language rules are divine. There is here a discussion from where the Arabic language rule came and all these type of things. So Quran is a phenomenon, does not explain everything. It explains only the things related to Quran, but not the language behind Quran, or not the historical context of the Arabs and all this type of thing. It is inferred, this axiom we have been inferring using the incapability principle. Yeah? Because we try to falsify it and try to falsify it using science. And we went to natural phenomena discussed by Quran, described by Quran. To find a mistake, we couldn't. So we said that there is here an incapability principle. We are saying, we use the incapability, we are saying that whoever attempts to make a materialistic model for the creation of the Quran will fail. Now, this is the so we have an incapability of explaining the context of Quran in a material way. So this is the use of incapability principle in this case. And as we saw, incapability principle is a common heuristic principle used by all sciences. Yeah? So it is, of course, scientifically acceptable to say we have tried a lot of time to falsify Quran. Not only we, but the hundreds of enemies and all these so-called Islamic studies, which were very aggressive. All these people didn't come up, I repeat it again, with any consistent model explaining anything. Anything. They tried to say first Muhammad didn't exist, then it came up that he existed. They tried to say
the graphical evidence in Mecca and Medina.
So actually, you can write books about this failure. So they failed for the last 100 and 150 years to come up, although they used everything and used enormous sums of money.
Yeah, archaeology
and archaeology, and they didn't come up with one consistent model of how this Quran was written. Exactly. Even though they just concentrated on the relation with Christianity, they didn't go into natural phenomena until now to discuss natural here until this day where I discuss with you this. People recognize discussion of natural phenomena in the Quran as pseudoscientific and hilarious and all this. I hope to have shown the audience that this discussion in itself is this ridiculousness of thinking that 309 could have been written by anyone. I don't need to investigate it further. This in itself is very pseudoscientific. I need for everything written about natural phenomena in the Quran to be an investigation. First of all, is it right or wrong? To falsify, because we want to falsify. Still, and Allah says to us, if you want to be sure about your iman, try to falsify. Try to bring something similar, means try to know how it was written, means you are falsifying it. Yeah, you're actually falsifying it. It claims that it is from Allah, you are falsifying it. So when I ignore anything written in the Quran, and there are a lot of places where natural phenomena are described, when I ignore them in the pretext, oh, this is not important. Actually, everything is important. Everything, you need to explain everything. Otherwise, you are joking. I hope that at least this comes to the audience. So at the end, my belief in this axiom constitutes for me cognitively a justifiable belief. So it is as justifiable as believing in the uncertainty principle, as believing at least as justifiable as believing in Newton's law where we have a lot of experiment. We have done a lot of experiment about Quran. Many people have done a lot of falsification effort about Quran, and it is time to recognize that somehow somebody must come and say, people, it's very similar to Newton's first law. It's very similar to the uncertainty principle. So at the end, I have justifiable belief means I have objective scientific evidence leading to empirical belief. This is yeah. So we have belief. We don't have knowledge. We don't have certainty. We have why? Because we have a lot of evidence, many parts and many evidence parts assembled together will come to this belief. Now, last but not least, let us see how then when you see Quran as a phenomenon, then you draw the line, of course. Muslims from the beginning drew the line between ontology and between what they know, between the Quran and between what they say about Quran. Now, this is very important because this reminds us of what physics does. It is contradicting mathematics. If you remember, I had this picture for mathematics and there was no line like this in the middle because the mathematicians used to think whatever they do is truth in reality. So here, Muslims from the beginning, they knew that the phenomenon of Quran is different, and using the incapability principle, they used the Quran axioms, used all sciences, used Arabic to draw their in the consciousness their systems. Their Arabic itself is a formal system. Even Imam Khawarizmi, when he discussed the algorithmic and algebraic solution, he used Arabic. Amazing. It's amazing. He didn't use symbols. Actually, we use symbols to make it easier, but he used Arabic. He used Arabic to explain algebra. So the first explanation of algebra of equations was done using an Arabic as a formal system, actually. It's unbelievable. Very nice.
Amazing. Yeah, I think we have to stop here. It was an edifying lecture. Thank you, Dr. Elnasser. And I think we have a problem with the connection of Dr. Elnasser. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Elnasser. And I think we will have a couple more, 2 or 3 videos of this series or podcast to talk about. I think we will talk about the usul al-fiqh and fiqh and the relationship